Hello everyone, my name is Nightfarox, and welcome back. Today, we are going to be talking about Tower of God Season 2. After over a year of very heated online debates, Tower of God is officially announced for Season 2, and oh boy, am I hyped! I have been dying for an announcement since the end of Season 1, despite some of Season 1's setbacks. But what does everyone have to say about the anime now that it has been officially released for Season 2? So, the first big thing is the art. One of the big things that everyone has been talking about is the art style released for Season 2. The trailer itself didn't show us anything new, most likely because the series was just greenlit. But the art for the anime shows major improvement from Season 1. It seems to be some consensus has formed online that the studio and perhaps Crunchyroll may have been listening to fans when they gave constructive criticism on the show. Another theory going around is that maybe this time around the show got a bigger budget. And so whereas before they couldn't put as much money into the artwork, this time they can. And so we're seeing a little bit of differences within the artwork. Another thing that has been going around is that maybe, just maybe, they plan to improve on the artwork just like SIU improved on the artwork in the webtoon. It remains to be seen. I don't put too much stock into what one picture is, especially since we haven't actually seen any new animation for Season 2. But that does seem to be the consensus. Next up is the trailer itself. Now, there was a bit of disappointment around the trailer, especially with anime-only fans. The trailer didn't show us anything new. I would say that it was more of a situation that it was just greenlit, and they should have made this more of an announcement trailer, and this was a recap rather than an actual first trailer. However, if we are talking marketing strategy, that video got a lot more clicks on it because it had the word trailer in the name than it would have otherwise. I would suspect within the next several months they'll release another trailer where we'll see an actual Season 2 with animation in it. But for now, this is what we have. I don't think they're going to leave it like that. Then there's the debates around Season 2. This is very interesting to me because I'm a webtoon reader. I've been watching anime for years. I've mentioned this. And then I also read manga as well. And this webtoon is one of the first times ever that I have seen fans debate whether or not there would or if there should be a Season 2. I think part of that may have been that some of the readers aren't typically anime fans and they're watching because it's Tower of God and it's anime, so they don't necessarily know how anime works. And the thing is with anime is you can go 5 years, sometimes even 8 or more without hearing a single word about an anime, and then all of a sudden it just drops. So there wasn't ever really a doubt, for me anyway, that it would drop. Now, the interesting and I guess more the unusual thing surrounding Tower of God and what kind of left it up in the air was the fact that Sony had bought Crunchyroll. And a lot of people had thought that Crunchyroll was going to be dissolved into Funimation. And because of that, the Crunchyroll originals weren't going to continue. However, it seems that it's actually been the other way around. I've heard even things like Funimation execs have been given spots, high position spots on Crunchyroll. And so it seems more like Funimation is actually kind of being dissolved into Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll is the more successful site. And so it was kind of the opposite of what everybody thought. And I personally thought myself too that Sony would be dumb for not continuing popular anime. Tower of God did really well. Now the thing is, the other two animes that came out alongside it, God of High School, and I think Novelise is how you say that, Novelesse, they didn't do as well as Tower of God. I mean, God of High School did pretty well. People were pretty upset with its pacing. Talking to fans over at God of High School, the biggest things that they said was, Tower of God was rushed, but it wasn't God of High School rushed. Our pacing did pretty well compared to God of High School. So there were things that weren't done great in season 1, but it could have been a lot worse. And the hope is that they can fix those things going into season 2. And so a lot of the debate goes around that. And, but I definitely think that Tower of God itself definitely deserved a season 2. And the hype around it was rightfully so. Now, let's talk about the adaptation itself. This is where people seem to get the most heated when talking about the Tower of God anime. Some people think that the changes made in season 1 have made season 2 beyond repair. You can't repair it. Other people think that it can be salvaged either through flashbacks or through minor changes that won't affect the story too much, but will get the story on track. But the majority agree on one thing. No matter where you stand on that point, the pacing needs to be slowed down a bit. Season 1, like I was mentioning, was pretty fast-paced. It was, okay, it wasn't so fast-paced like God of High School, where literal things were skipped, and it was so skipped that you didn't understand the main plots going on. Now, there are people who would completely disagree with me on that, and you know what? You have your opinions, and that's okay. You're allowed to believe that. But I think the majority of season 1 was done okay. I'm not going to say that it was the best adaptation 10 out of 10, because I personally don't believe that either. But I'm not thinking that it was so horrible that it's the worst thing I've ever watched. The worst thing I ever watched adapted was Tokyo Ghoul. So, if you want to see something horribly adapted, go watch Tokyo Ghoul. And then complain about Tower of God. But, I do agree that pacing needs to be slowed down. But here is where the good news comes in. I think in season 1, we had to get to the end of season 1. We had 80 chapters. Not really 80. 75, I believe, is what it is. It's been a while since I've read season 1, so I can't really remember the chapter count, but I think it's around there. 75 to 80 is what it is. We had to get there. Everybody knows that season 1 is the prologue, and that season 2 was where the real story begins. There was no way we could do multiple seasons out of season 1. That is just ridiculous. So I understand that people like it was too fast paced, but it may have needed to be a little bit of a faster pace to get us to the end of season 1. So I don't think it is going to be as rushed. I may be completely wrong, but I don't think it will be as rushed this time around because there's a lot more stuff to work with, and it's not going to be like we have to get to this specific point. There's multiple stopping points, good stopping points for them to choose from. So here's what I think. There has been a lot of speculation online about where Tower of God season 2 is going to stop. They have not released the episode count yet. They have just announced it. That's literally all they've done. They have just announced it. So personally, from just the loads of anime I've watched, animes that typically have 13 episodes. And I've been saying this like on the Reddit and everything for like the past 2 years. Whenever this question is posed, if we're going to get a season 2, right? Animes that typically get 13 seasons in the first season. 13 episodes in the first season. They go on to typically have 24 episodes in the second season. 13 episodes is a good roundabout number the majority of the time for them to be like, okay, here's a good stopping point. Let's see how the audience feels. So that way we're not spending too much of a budget on an anime that's going to completely flop. Well, now they know that Tower of God is successful, there's no major reason for them to do another 13 episodes. So I do think that it will be 24 episodes, and I'm going to do a little bit of arc dropping. So I do think that this would mean that we probably will end after the workshop battle, right after. That would be like probably the best stopping point. Now, a lot of people were saying like the most like phenomenal way for them to do it would be to do 12 episodes or 13 episodes and end like go on break right at the hand of Arlen, and then start up the second part a couple months later into the workshop battle. I think that would be like perfect too. I don't know if that's necessarily what they would do, but in a dream world, that's what will happen. But who knows? But that's kind of what I think. Now, if they do go the route of just doing another 13 episodes, then I think it'll end at the hand of Arlen again. But yeah. But I do think that they have more wiggle room to work with this time. And that there's just better stopping points than before. There isn't this like, we have to get to the end of season 1 so we can start season 2, because that's when the good shit happens, you know? We all know that season 1's a prologue. You can't have multiple seasons of a prologue. So anyway. So, the other thing is, people were upset that they changed things in season 1. For me, I felt that some of the stuff may have been necessary with the episode count they had to change. Some stuff, I agree with what other people were saying online. You can bring back flashbacks of what happened, because they kind of skip around from, like, it isn't just this is this day, this is this day. They were skipping around on when things happened. They were there for like a month or so. So they could easily put in a flashback and bring in like the Endorsey arc that they completely missed. And they can do things like that. So I don't think it's a complete loss, and I definitely think they probably will do something like that. So I would keep expectations low, But, I mean, I don't think what they changed overall affects the story so much, so that when people are like, it ruined the entire story, I can't watch season 2, it's done. I think those people are overreacting just a little bit. I don't think it ruined the story that much, especially when you don't know how they're going to handle it in season 2. Now, if they don't fix anything that they kind of effed up in season 1, and they leave those plot holes, then it would be a little bit bothersome. But until we actually get the season, we don't know. We don't know. So, I don't know. I think it's important to keep in mind that a lot of people who read the source material, no matter what the source material is that you're reading, when it gets adapted into an anime, you end up feeling gyffed when the anime comes out, when it's not adapted exactly how you want it to be adapted. It's not just Tower of God. So it's not just you that feels like that. And I don't think that just because something isn't adapted exactly the way it was in the source material that it makes it a bad anime. I just don't think like that. I do, however, agree though that with some of the things that they did in season 1, it did take what should have been a solid 10 anime down to an 8, and made it like a mid anime. So I hope that they reverse track a little bit and they're like, no, Tower of God has potential. You guys saw the potential. Boom. And that's what I hope they do. Alright. So, release date. Interestingly enough, although the show was announced for season 2, we don't have a release date yet. It just says coming soon. So, what we can expect is, if the show moves like season 1 did, then we can expect a season 2 to be April 2023. However, I personally would not mind if it is moved back a little bit to summer of 2023 or so. So that way they have plenty of time to work on the anime and really fix out the kinks that the fans told them about. I mean, for the past 2 years, if you went to the Reddit at least once a month, what people talked about was, this is what I want from season 2 if we ever get a season 2. So there's plenty to go off of with the constructive criticism. So I really hope that Crunchyroll and the studio takes that into mind when they're doing season 2, because I think right now expectations are on the lower end for season 2, so that way nobody gets hurt again. Nobody likes to see something they love so much to get messed up in any way. And like I said, I think there has to be some leeway with adaptations. Not everything is always going to be adapted 100%, especially when the budget isn't what they need to make that perfect anime adaptation. I mean, not everything can be a Demon Slayer, for example. So sometimes there has to be a little leeway, there has to be a little bit give and take. But that doesn't mean that the adaptation can be shit. It just means that, how are they going to adapt it? And what they put in there is, I say this a lot with webtoons too. What they put in there, is it better than the original? So, I think that with people being a little bit more reserved, it's definitely going to be a good thing going forward. And we know what to expect, and expectations can only be raised or lowered from here. And there's a lot riding on Tower of God Season 2 being successful for Crunchyroll. Because as far as I am aware, with a Crunchyroll original, this is the first time they've ever continued a series. So they're definitely going to want this to be successful, and they're definitely going to take that criticism that they got and do what they can to make it better. So, like I said, hopefully they work out the kinks, and most likely we'll see it return April 2023. So, no matter what, I myself am definitely excited for Tower of God Season 2. I have been waiting since Season 1 for Season 2 to come out. And we all know, like I said, that Season 1 is just a prologue for Season 2. So, I don't think I think it's a small minority of people who don't want to see Season 2 be animated because they didn't like how Season 1 was animated. And for me, the real story begins in Season 2. And that is what I want to see animated. And that's what I've been hoping to see animated. So, again, I'm hoping that the kinks from Season 1 will be worked out. And that Season 2 will be the 10 that we all want it to be. As more information is released, I will update you guys on the anime. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye-bye.
I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be